My name is Jenny. I'm 30 years old, single, and live in a house with my parents and grandmother. I worked in a nightclub until 3 years ago, but now I work diligently at a bakery. My father was laid off last year after working for a major company, and now he works in security. My mother has always been a homemaker and has never worked. My grandmother needs care, but she and my mother don't get along, so I primarily take care of her. My grandmother always adored me, so I never found the caregiving too burdensome. The bakery where I work is nearby, so I go early in the morning to prepare. And after the lunch rush, I come home temporarily. I help my grandmother with her lunch and then go back to work until the evening. Sometimes I go after dinner too. But it was physically easier compared to my previous night job. The manager is a very kind person and let me take home leftover bread, which really helped our family budget. Our home was running fairly peacefully like this, until my real sister, Lauren, came back. Lauren has always been smart and graduated from university with excellent grades, unlike me who only finished high school. She got married to a coworker soon after joining a major company and getting pregnant. After taking maternity leave, she became a working mom. But one day, she suddenly contacted my mother, who told me the news. "Jenny, Lauren will be coming tomorrow." "Huh? Is she coming to visit?" "She got divorced." My mother was fretting, maybe worried. She has always been timid and can't stand up to my strong-willed father and sister. I casually responded to lighten the mood. "Oh, that seems common these days." The next day, Lauren returned with her 2-year-old daughter. When I greeted her with, "Hi, Lauren," she turned away and wouldn't respond. Lauren was embarrassed that I had worked in the nightlife and often said, "I don't want to think of you as my sister. And earning money by flattering men is unthinkable." I just chuckled and let it slide each time. When Lauren got married, she said, "I'm not like you who hang around. And I'll get married properly and stay married, trying to appear as a pure woman." However, she divorced in less than 3 years. Maybe that made it awkward because she wouldn't even look at me after returning. For someone who was on a fast track to success, divorce might seem like an embarrassing failure. My father, who adores Lauren for following in his elite footsteps, was supportive. "You can stay as long as you want, and I'm relieved that man is gone." My mother, who can't talk back to the sharp-tongued Lauren, ended up serving her and her child like a maid. Lauren stayed home all day. When I asked my mother about it, she said, "It seems she got a long vacation. Or is it called a leave of absence?" Apparently, she didn't want to face her ex-husband at the same company. It's just like the proud Lauren to do something like that. After a while, Lauren started talking to me when she felt more at ease. "Jenny, can you buy this for me?" It was usually errands. And when I brought back the specified items, she'd say, "That's not what I want." Or didn't I explain it properly? "Were you listening?" When I suggested, "Wouldn't it be faster if you went yourself?" she'd reply one after another. "It's on your way, right? It's embarrassing to meet neighbors. And you don't understand my feelings, do you? It must be nice to have no shame. If you're going to be home, why don't you do some housework?" If I dared say that, she'd retort, "I'm busy with child-rearing, so that's not my job." Effectively using my mother and me as substitutes for maids. Lounging around with her child. Her child is picky about food. "Don't put this in, okay?" she'd demand, making cooking a careful task. "Jenny, I told you not to put spinach in, didn't I? And you really have a bad memory," she'd yell at me if I made even a small mistake. One day, while I was helping my grandmother with her meal, my 2-year-old niece entered the room. "Oh, you shouldn't come in here," I said as I picked her up, but Lauren rushed over, her face livid. "Hey! You shouldn't come to such a dirty place. Jenny, don't touch her, okay?" She hastily took my niece away from me. "Don't say such disrespectful things to Grandma," I yelled involuntarily. To which she haughtily responded, "You wouldn't understand, since you've done dirty jobs," and left with my niece. I knew she disliked me, but it hurt, especially since I was working diligently now. Only my grandmother considered my feelings and comforted me in a thin voice. "Thank you for everything, Jenny. Don't worry about what Lauren said just now." I knew Lauren's germophobia wasn't new. And she was probably on edge due to the changes in her environment. Then one day, Lauren approached me with a serious look. "Jenny, I have something to tell you." "Huh? What's up?" "I want to use your room." "Huh? You have your own room, right? That room is poorly lit and smaller than yours. My room was originally shared by us sisters and is slightly larger." The room Lauren was using had been a storeroom, hastily prepared when she returned. Though, the storeroom's items were still in my room, taking up half the space. So the livable area was about the same. "Well, that's true, but it's better for the child to have a room with good sunlight and more space." "Jenny, you're alone anyway, so it will be fine." Lauren started pouting, so I said, "All right, I got it. I'll move there," finding it too troublesome to argue. Thus, we swapped our rooms. "I have to take care of this child, so I can't move around," she said. "Make sure you clean it." I ended up cleaning both rooms. Once the cleaning was done and I handed over the room, she said, "This stuff is in the way," and brought the storeroom items into my room. This left me without a space to sleep. I had to sort the items into cardboard boxes and lay my mattress on top of them to sleep. Both my parents were aware of my situation but said nothing. They had always favored my sister over me, so I thought it couldn't be helped. This lifestyle continued for about 3 months. Then my grandmother, whom I had been caring for, passed away. I was devastated and cried for days. But my parents and Lauren seemed unaffected, their faces emotionless. After the funeral, I was sadly cleaning out my grandmother's room when Lauren entered. "Now that Grandma's caregiving is done, you're no longer needed here, right?" she suddenly said, startling me. When I asked her, "What are you talking about?" she looked down on me and said triumphantly, "Dad and Mom said you were just here for caregiving. You hardly work, and you're not getting married either." I had known Lauren didn't think highly of me. But realizing that my parents also thought of me that way was a new shock. It seemed they had completely forgotten all the service I had provided to this house. Did they think they were secure now that the elite sister was back? As I stayed silent, Lauren pressed on. "Hey, isn't it about time you became independent? I think it's questionable to keep relying on our parents." She spoke from such a high horse. I didn't think I was relying on them. "You were always dependent, staying at home. After I had left, you used the big room all by yourself. That's too luxurious. I gave up the room, didn't I? I can't keep staying in the same room with my daughter. I want a separate room for her. She's only 2 years old, so it isn't necessary, right?" When I responded, Lauren seemed annoyed and said, "You just don't get it, Jenny. And really, you're so dumb." She began to fidget with her arms crossed in frustration. "Why?" When I asked again, not understanding, she snapped. "Basically, Jenny, you're in the way. I need that room, so I want you to get out." I was stunned. "What?" As I was confused, Lauren grew even more irritated and blurted out, "Geez, you really can't take a hint. Dad and Mom won't say it directly. So I'm saying it for them. Stop relying on your parents and be independent. Get out of this house right now." After thinking for a bit, I said, "Okay." Lauren seemed taken aback by my quick agreement. Snorted and said, "If you understand, that's fine. Just don't come back asking for favors, okay? That's what being independent is, got it?" I nodded earnestly. A week later, I left the house with my grandmother's portrait. As I was leaving, I heard Lauren talking to my parents. Now that she's gone, it's a better environment for my daughter's education. Dad, Mom, you can rely on me from now on. It seems she had convinced them that my presence was bad for my niece. As usual, my parents didn't defend me but just thanked Lauren, saying, "Thank you, Lauren." Thus, I left the house I had grown accustomed to with just a few belongings. About 2 months later, I had not contacted my family at all, following Lauren's instructions. Then, Lauren contacted me. "Hello? Jenny? What's up? I sent you some documents. Can you sign and send them back?" "Documents? They're for renouncing your inheritance." "What do you mean?" When I asked, Lauren, still sounding irritated, rushed through her words. "Listen, Jenny. You left the house, right? From now on, I'll take care of our parents. I have an heir, so it's only natural that I should get all the inheritance." "I thought I was taking care of our parents too." "Huh? What are you talking about? Caregiving is supposed to start from now, right? You might have taken care of Grandma, but that's different. Jenny, you were just freeloading at home. Really, you're so dumb." She dismissed my points entirely. "What do Dad and Mom say?" "They say, we'll let you do as you like. They've left it all to me." From that response, I realized my parents had decided to rely on Lauren. And I made a certain decision. "Okay, I got it. I'll sign and send it back. Thanks." As soon as I agreed, Lauren quickly ended the call. I signed the documents renouncing my inheritance and sent them back. About 6 months later, Lauren contacted me again. "Hello, Jenny? I wanted to ask about money." "Yeah? Do you know anything about Dad's salary?" "Huh? It's coming in, isn't it?" "Yeah, but isn't this amount too little?" "What can I say? He's just doing security work. Could you live on this before?" When Grandma was alive, there was her survivor's pension. And I was also contributing money to the household, so we managed somehow. Lauren seemed shocked for a moment but then tried to recover. Also, a reminder for unpaid rent arrived. "Isn't this supposed to be our own house?" "Mom doesn't know anything about it." "Oh, that house? It's rented." "Huh? Rented?" Lauren was astonished. I was the one paying the rent. Maybe that's because Mom didn't realize that. We couldn't pay the mortgage and someone bought it and let us stay on as tenants out of kindness. In fact, I was the one who arranged that. I didn't know. "It's rented? Well, whatever you do, if you don't pay properly, you'll get kicked out," I said with a hint of amusement. Lauren, sounding annoyed, then started blaming me. "Besides, there's no money saved at home. What's going on? Jenny, you didn't take it, did you?" Finally, it had come to this, and I decided to set things straight. "Well, that's because Mom and Dad used it all up." "What?" "You probably didn't know, but Dad was crazy about women. He spent all his salary on other women. He got laid off from the big company because there were suspicions of embezzlement. Plus, Mom kept saying she wasn't pretty enough, which is why Dad cheated. And she kept getting plastic surgery. That's why we never really had any money." "Huh? What? I didn't know that. They never told you, huh?" "It was so terrible when I joined high school that I had to start working part-time after school." "What? Really?" "Yet, their spending was so bad that we didn't have enough money for living expenses. That's why I started working at night after I became an adult." "Wait, then, my tuition fees? I was the one who paid for them." "Well, that's not really important now. I felt a sense of accomplishment, having supported you through university." Lauren seemed unable to speak over the phone. I kept silent because I knew you'd dislike hearing about our parents' true nature. Due to your germophobia. I thought there'd never be another chance to tell you since we're no longer connected." "What do you mean, no longer connected?" Wait, just wait a minute. I haven't heard any of this. It's better this way. Having an aunt like me would only be bad for the child's education, right? I'm also relieved that our ties are cut. Mom and Dad should just enjoy living with their proud daughter and granddaughter. Wait, just wait a minute. Isn't it terrible to abandon your family? What are you talking about? You were the ones who abandoned me. We didn't abandon you. We just told you to be independent. When you asked me to renounce the inheritance, I took it that our ties were already cut. No way. That's not what I meant. What are you talking about? You, being the elite, should just work and bring in the money, I responded. After a brief pause, she spoke in a low voice. I quit my job. Apparently, her being on a leave was a lie, and she had already resigned. I see. Well, I hope you find some jobs, I said, about to end the call. When she suddenly pleaded, wait. Jenny. Mom has developed early onset dementia. And I can't take my eyes off her. It seemed there was a mix of needing money and needing care. Lauren's usually haughty attitude was gone, replaced by a voice that was almost crying. I wish you'd come back once a while. That's impossible. Why? Isn't that cruel? We're family. That's because you were the ones who cut off our family ties. Besides, it's practically impossible. Why? Just coming back once a while would be fine. I'm saying it's impossible. I'm in Spain now. Huh? Please, just don't contact me anymore. I have nothing to do with you anymore. I said, and ended the call. My husband, who was beside me, asked, "What's wrong? Are you okay?" To which I smiled and said, "I'm fine. They're people I have no ties with anymore." He gently rubbed my stomach and whispered happily, "If there's anything, just tell me. It would be terrible if it affected the baby." We met during the time I was working nights. And he had been proposing to me for a while. But I was worried about my parents' wasteful spending. And couldn't leave my grandmother, who had always been kind to me. After my grandmother passed away and I realized my parents' true feelings, I finally made up my mind. Thus, I left home, married him, and came to Spain due to his job transfer. Later, my father called, "Aren't you coming back?" We were deceived by Lauren. She had quit her job. After all we did for her, she's a complete letdown. He complained bitterly, ignoring his own wasteful habits. Overwhelmed by years of anger, I said, "I'm afraid to tell you this, but I no longer consider you my father." "That's too bad," and quickly ended the call. My mother, always timid, also called. "Where are you? You're the only one we can rely on," and began crying over the phone. After all this time ignoring reality and disregarding me, it was their own doing. Live happily with your elite daughter, Lauren. I also ended that call. Since then, I haven't heard from my former family. According to relatives, they were kicked out of their home and now live in a rundown apartment. Lauren finds jobs, but loses them due to her arrogant attitude. They barely manage on my father's small salary. And living in a large room seems far off for her. I wasn't well educated, so I didn't speak Spanish at all. But with my husband's help and some wonderful Spanish friends, I've managed to get by, albeit with broken language. Well, even in the States, there are many people who don't understand English, just like my former family. No matter where you live, what matters is kindness. I intend to keep valuing kindness and never forget the kindness I've received as I live my life.